Hi, I just made a package TableScraper.jl for scraping tables from web pages. So let's go through a real-life example of how to use it. So the table I want to scrape is from the goratings.org page. As you can see here, there's two tables on the page, and I'm interested in scraping this one. So let's go. Of course, I need to load table scrapers. And I'll be using data frames meta, and chain as my recommended packages for manipulating tables. So in the table scraper package, there's only one function called scrape tables. You point it to an URL and it will just bring down all the tables. As I mentioned before, I'm interested in the second table. Sometimes there are tables hidden in the web page, etc., etc., etc. But you kind of just have to be trial and error and figure out which one you want. So in this case, I'm interested in the second table. So what I would do is I'll take all of these two elements, two tables that got scraped. I take the second one and convert it to a data frame. So that's it. So you can see here I've scraped the ratings list of all the Go players. Now if you look at this table, there are other features in there. For example, each player also has a link to their individual profile, like this. And also there's a flag column, which is not brought down. It's all empty right here. So how do we deal with those type of data? So if you look at the documentation for scrape tables, you'll see that in the scrape tables function, there is a second argument called cell transform. This literally is what you apply to each cell in the table before you bring it back. By default, the transform used is node text from the Cascadia.jl package, and all it does is convert the content to a string. I don't want it to convert to a string, so let's go through a more complicated example. So what I would do is, instead of using the node text to convert everything to a string, I'll just call the identity function instead. Now using the chain package, what will happen is it will take the URL and pass this URL into the first argument of scrape tables, and the second argument is identity, so meaning I don't want to do any transformation of the cell. And again, I take the second table that I scraped and convert it to a data frame. Let's see what happens. If I do this, you can see that the stuff that it brought back are in HTML element form, so it's no longer just the content. So I'm interested in, for example, getting the player's link. So let's look at how it works. Let's just look at one element. The first element of the name column, which contains, if you recall, the name of the player, but also a link to the player's profile. And the link of the player's profile is here. So, it's just the child of this cell, and then attribute it's the href, which is the link. So to extract that, it's quite simple. So what I would do is I'll just have a function that takes the cell and takes the first child, and for the first child I look at the attributes and extract the link, and then I broadcast this function to every element in the name. Perform a transform, which creates a new column called link to player, and I just want to show you what happens. Great. If I just show you the link to player column, you can see that it extracted the link to the player profile correctly, so that's great. So I can keep going. The next thing you will remember is I'll extract the flag information from the table. Before I do that, I just want to make a copy of all the names in the table as of now, and as I will use it later. And I'll be using the Cascadia's node text function directly a little bit below. So let's look at the content of the flag. It looks a bit like this. So for each cell, there's a children, and in the children, I'm just interested in these alternative text. So KR is Korea, JP is Japan, etc., etc. I'm only interested in this attribute. So instead of doing what I've done above, which is to write the function in line, I'll just make some proper function. So extract link to player, same as before. Take the cell, the first child, and extract this. And for the extracting the nationality, which is extracting this KR field, actually done it beforehand, and I realized that some of the cells don't actually have a child like this in the element. So more than 0 child, and if it is, extract the alternative attribute else give missing. So that's my function. So it's very easy. For the link to player, I call it extract to link player. For the nationality, I call this extract nationality flag. And lastly, if you recall, I kept the original names because the original data is all in HTML format, not in string. So what I will do is I will convert all of them to string, and after doing that, the original flag column is not useful anymore, so I'll just drop. So this is what I would do. Great. Now you can see I've extracted the data. I convert everything back to string using the notext function, and I've extracted his additionally nationality and the link to the player's profile. Hopefully that was an interesting introduction to TableScraper package. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye.